DonInLondon, hello, January 9th, 2010. My video is all about recovery from addiction to either substance or behaviour. My substance, alcohol, my behaviour as addictive over the years, work, relationships, materialism, trying to look right, trying to be right, trying to think my way into happiness, and striving for perfection. And what happened? Well, having tried to think my way into happiness and always taking the edge off, if you like, with a drink, I became dependent and addicted to a substance and behaviour. So working harder, and I remember I had a boss once when I asked, is everything alright with what I'm doing? He said yes. And I said, can I do anything else? He said yes, do more hours. And the addiction is not always in us, it's in others as well. So, fear of how things might show up, I know that's always a big one. Fear of being found out, fear of being less than, fear of being ridiculed, fear of anything, and fear of fear. And the big news is that fear can be as much a fantasy as anything else, because we don't know what it is. And if we imagine fear, it can be far worse than any real fear most often, because if we are able to access the truth of where we are now, most things are manageable. Even the worst of news can be manageable, and we are powerless over reality. So what have I learned in recovery? Well, the first step for me was to realise I am powerless over reality. Real life is real, and I cannot think it different in the moment. What I can do is exercise choices to change me and my attitude to what is going on around me and how I connect with everything that's going on. So if I have a drink inside me, I have taken the edge off me, and it really did take the edge off me over the years. So from a very successful convivial drinker, socially and at work and in career and all those things, drink took me to a place of abject misery, and that misery, I guess, was self-inflicted. But there does come a time when conviviality turns to dependence, and dependence turns to addiction. And when we get to a place of addiction, we don't have a choice. We are emotionally and physically in need of the next drink. So these days I try to keep sober one day at a time, and what's helped me immensely is family who kept me alive long enough to get that moment of clarity. In fact, it had to be several moments of clarity and several moments of rock bottom, because to knock out that self-will to be right and that self-will to recover on my own, well, for me, this particular recovering alcoholic, I couldn't do it on my own, and I needed help. And in the end, family, friends, community and professionals got me, I suppose, to a place of dried outness but not sober, so that I could actually say, okay, what's going to help me, and does anybody know the answer? And there are many answers to sobriety, but the one which works for me most is the Fellowship of AA, Alcoholics Anonymous. It's full of unique, authentic people who speak for themselves where they choose. And I speak here to share experience, strength and hope of what it is like to be in recovery one day at a time, and also to share a little bit of the literature of AA. So that's my personal choice, and I prefer my unique, authentic outlook based on information received through others and through life experience. So each day is different. I do some similar routines on a daily basis just to keep me on track and sober, and then let life happen and be open to the possibilities. Try not to judge the world harshly for not giving me multi-million pounds in my bank account, but just enough to get by. Try not to judge other people because they're all doing their job, which is to live life. And understand I have an equal right to be here, and they have an equal right to their lives as well. So we're not looking for acolytes or anything especially in fellowship, is people rubbing along together of equal size and equal stature, whether they're 1 day sober, 1 hour sober, or decades sober. And what do? We learn from each other. We keep on learning, and we keep on being a part of. And the greatest gift of returning to the human race with a sober head is that we feel included again, and we find our place in family if we can. Sometimes we can't. Community and society. We just find our place to be included, and fellowship is a damn good start. For me, in particular, because I isolated myself, because I detested what I had done. And I didn't understand that self-inflicted wounds, when it gets to addiction, we don't have that choice anymore. So, in recovery, we keep to choices to keep sober by following an open, honest, willing program of 12 steps of action to change attitude and behaviour. And that's what AA is all about. We make friends, we learn how to live again. And I will share the AA preamble or statement of intent here, because it slows me down into the moment of now, and then I'll share a little bit about my day yesterday and the AA literature just for today, which is all about the 12 steps. So here's the preamble. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength and hope with each other, that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organisation or institution. Does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. And it's about that bridge back to modern living, or that bridge back to family or community and society, or just starting afresh, anew. And, a single chap on his own here, and that's okay. And life could have been different, but life is just the way it is. So acceptance is of great importance, to accept where we are now and see how we go. Anyway, I do share daily reflections here, this book, and it's 1 page a day, and January is all about step 1, being powerless over alcohol and life being unmanageable, and what we can do about it. And it says here, January 9th, Act of Providence. It is truly awful to admit that, glass in hand, we have walked our minds into such an obsession for destructive drinking that only an act of Providence can remove it from us. And my act of Providence, well, I got past the glass, I got to just drinking out of the bottle. But the act of Providence was, for me, realising I couldn't do it on my own. I couldn't get out of this jam. My act of Providence, it says here, a manifestation of divine care and direction, came as I experienced the total bankruptcy of active alcoholism, in other words, isolation for me. Everything meaningful in my life was gone. Yes, I was in the gutter. I telephoned Alcoholics Anonymous. Well, I didn't. I just walked into a meeting. And from that instant, my life never has been the same. Well, it took a few attempts for me. I wasn't a very good student. When I reflect on that very special moment, I know that God was working in my life long before I was able to acknowledge and accept spiritual concepts. For me, God is truth. So if I find the truth of what is now, I've got a good chance of what can follow. The glass was put down through this one act of providence, and my journey into sobriety began. My life continues to unfold with divine care and direction. Step 1, in which I admitted I was powerless over alcohol, that my life had become unmanageable, takes on more meaning for me 1 day at a time in the life-saving, life-giving fellowship of AA, Alcoholics Anonymous. And for me, poor student, but I got there in the end. And the act of providence was opening up to the world again and just letting the light in, chink by chink. So the serenity prayer to God or good conscience, depending on your particular beliefs, is to acceptance of now. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference for me is just for today.